Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic Orthodoxy. My name's David, and this is the review of MagiFest 2020. Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you've been following me for a while, you probably saw through the social media interwebs that I went to MagiFest in Columbus, Ohio this month. It was January 16th through the 18th. January 16th through the 18th, 2020, Columbus, Ohio. Vanishing Inc. put the whole thing on. They were in charge of the whole shebang. And it was Andy Gladwin, of course, Joshua J. Thanks to our hosts, and thanks to the Renaissance Columbus Downtown Hotel, because that's where the whole thing was. That was awesome. Never been to Columbus, Ohio before. Never been. If you live in Columbus, Ohio, shout out to Columbus, Ohio. Woot. Yeah, so never been to a MagicCon before. Been to other conventions before. Been to like comic conventions, of course. Been to Star Wars Celebration. I've been to conventions for work, right? So I kind of knew what to expect. I knew there'd be a grand hall, and I knew there'd be a dealer's room, and I knew there'd be people walking about. I knew we'd all be wearing the lanyards. Here's your lanyard, name on the front, your old schedule on the back. So that was a lot of fun. So if you saw this guy walking around MagiFest in my black hoodie and my giant green Boba Fett backpack, that was me. That was me. standing on the walls like a wallflower, too scared to talk to anybody because I was just nervous and shy. You know, one of those magicians says, I got into magic so I could meet people. And then you just learn a bunch of magic, but then you don't actually meet people. Yeah, that's me. So I was a little shy. I was a little hesitant. So if you came up to me and talked to me, that's great. I had a little incentive for myself to engage people in conversation. I brought 28 decks of cards with me in my backpack, and like an idiot, I put all of it on the bottom of my backpack and then went through security. And of course, my backpack got flagged, and the lady tore through my bag, and I said, hey, I don't even have a suitcase. Like, everything I own is in this backpack. So you are right now gonna go through my underwear and my socks and my clothes. And she's like, here we go. I'm like, okay. So it just all came out right there on the table in front of everybody. And then she starts pulling this out, and she's like, why are you bringing 28 decks of cards with you to Columbus, Ohio? And I'm like, good question. Yeah, I'm a magician. I'm a magician, and I'm taking these. And she's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And we talked a little bit, and then they gave it all back to me on a tray, and I had to repack my bag. So I learned my lesson. So, but you know, I won't do that again. But if you were there at MagiFest and you walked up to me and said, hey, are you Magic Orthodoxy? Or are you David? Chances are, if I had a deck left, or if I had a deck on my person, I gave you a deck of cards and just said thanks and asked you a couple questions. And it was a nice way for us to dialogue. So inside the airport, got over to my flight, and who's on the flight with me? Danny Orleans. Danny Orleans from Amaze Kids. I wanted to walk up to him and say hi to him, but he was on the phone. And I thought, well, when we get on the plane and I walk past him, I'll be like, hey, how's it going? And then I get on the plane and walk past him, and he's still on the phone. So then the whole flight there was fine, and then get off, and I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna look for Danny Orleans when I get off the plane, but then I couldn't find him. He was gone. So I go out to the street, call my Uber, and then who is standing next to me calling his Uber? Danny Orleans. And he looks at me and goes, hey, you wanna share a car? And I'm like, I just called my car. So I could have ridden to MagiFest with Danny Orleans in the same car and talked to him, but that sucked. So then I didn't get to do that. And then I get to my hotel, and Peter Nardi is in the lobby. Like, Peter Nardi is like right there. So I'm like, I gotta talk to Peter Nardi, but I didn't get a chance. And I got upstairs and unpacked my stuff, and then quickly ran down to the Renaissance Columbus. Okay, had a walk there. I walked from my hotel to the other hotel. It was fine. It was like 10-minute walk. Just walking around, seeing the city, seeing the nightlife, right? There's really nothing to look at. It's typical downtown area. Go upstairs, take the escalator up, and then boom, you have this big banner that says, welcome to MagiFest. And then there's tables set up, there's a lobby scene, right? And of course you got magicians hanging out at the lobby scene. Everybody's whipping out a card mat and a deck of cards, and they're doing some stuff. And then we're gonna wait around for our first session. Really funny, before the very first session, there's a guy sitting next to me, and he had a pendulum. He had a pendant, right? And the other guy next to me said, "Hey, what's that for?" And in my head, I'm like, "You don't know what a pendulum's for? It's like, swing it back and forth." So he says, "Oh, I swing it back and forth over a deck, and then use it to select a card." And the guy's all, show me. So they fan the cards, and the guy gives the pendulum to the other guy, and we're all watching at the table like, what is this going to be? What trick is this going to be, right? And he swings the pendulum, and it goes back and forth, and it stops over one card. And he says, "Hey, just slide your card out." So he slides it out. It's like Queen of Spades, I think, Queen of Spades. And he's like, "All right, so here, take the pendulum that you were holding, and there's a little ball at the end, crack that open." Guy cracks it open, a little piece of paper inside, pulls it out, and it's a little tiny Queen of Spades. And we're all like, that was a really good trick. So the guy that he did the trick to, the spectator, says, "So is your deck just all Queen of Spades?" And the magician goes, "Yeah." And he turns it over and shows us. So yeah, it was a force deck. It was a one-way force deck. Every single card was a Queen of Spades. And I just started laughing. I started laughing because I was like, that was the best ending to a trick. You know how when you do a trick for someone, and it might be a simple trick, and then your spectator guesses how it was done? What do we always say? Nope, right? Even when they guess right, they burned you, and then we kind of lie, and we say, "No, that's not how it was done." But the magician that did it, he's like, "Yeah, that's how it was done." And then he showed it to us. And I was like, that was a better ending than the original, than the first ending. And the kicker ending is the person guesses how it's done and they're right. So I was like, how come we don't do that more often? How come we're not just honest with our spectator? Just be real with them and say, "Oh, you figured it out. Yeah, that's how it was done." So I was like, you should end it. He's like, "I still don't know how to end the trick." I'm like, you should end it like that every single time because it's funny. It almost turns the trick into a humor trick, right? So then we go into the first session. Thursday was our first session, and the first performer was Peter Clifford. Peter Clifford was awesome. He worked with David Blaine, he works with Darren Brown, and he talked a lot about just being on stage, vocal exercises, stretching, things that you can do to kind of keep yourself from pacing or saying repetitive words. He talked about scripting, talked a lot about stage presence and the person you present yourself to be on stage. He was selling his lecture notes after, and I stood in line just to shake his hand and just to say, that was a great lecture. Didn't want to buy anything from him, but I said, you know what? I can use what you told us in so many other areas of life and not just magic. And so it was fun to meet him. Then after that was Avner the Eccentric. And if you've ever seen him, he kind of looks like a cross between a Beverly Hillbilly and Bozo the Clown. And he just kind of does like this kind of vaudevillian clown act, which is really funny. And then after that was Ryan Plunkett, and didn't get a chance to go into the dealer's room because I thought, you know what, I'm gonna save the dealer's room for Friday, right? I'm gonna save the dealer's room for Friday. And then there was an evening act but that I didn't want to stick around for. And a lot of the magicians got together afterwards, like late, and they would spend a lot of time in the bar and do tricks with each other. And I'm a 50-year-old dad of 2 kids, so I'm always thinking, I gotta get to bed, because I'm a grumpy old man. So I just walked back to my hotel just to get ready for the next day, which was Friday. So Friday, basically my days consisted of getting up, going to Starbucks for breakfast, number one, right? And then when I went down for breakfast, Peter Nardi was there again. Peter Nardi was at breakfast with me at Starbucks, and I'm like, I'm gonna get my coffee, and then I'm gonna turn casually to Peter Nardi and say, hey, what's up? And I got my coffee and he was gone. So second time, I didn't get to see Peter Nardi. So my days consisted of getting breakfast at Starbucks and then finding something to eat at the hotel. Other people left the hotel and went far away to get pizza and whatnot. But I just felt like, you know what, I paid for this experience, so I want to be here at this experience. I don't want to walk off or wander away or spend too much time away from MagiFest. Like if there's people I can see or people I can meet or things I can learn, then I'm going to stay here. So I spent all my money and all my time at the Renaissance Columbus downtown hotel. So that's where I was. So went over there on Friday. Friday, the first performer was Chris Capehart, who was awesome. He did this kid show. They actually brought kids in. They bussed kids in to watch a kid show. It was so great. And Danny Orleans did the opening. He didn't do any act, but it was just brilliant watching him talk to the kids, tell them how to sit, tell them how to be good listeners, pay attention. And that in itself was a little learning experience. And I told Danny later, I'm like, it was so fun just to watch you talk to the kids and just keep them under control. That was great. And then Chris Capehart came out. He killed them. He killed them with Miser's Dream. He killed them with Frady Cat Rabbit. Like, he did all these things and you were just like it was so much fun watching. He was rude to the kids. He kept calling them kid. He never, he kept promising he was going to give them a free pony or an Xbox, and he kept promising he was going to give them money, and never did. And it was just hilarious. We were laughing. And then afterwards, he stuck around. He talked a little bit about his tricks. And then, of course, he sold his lecture notes afterwards. After that, Carl Hein came out. He did an animal prediction envelope coming out of an envelope trick, which I totally want to do. It was so fun. And he did a torn and restored card trick, which was crazy awesome, which wasn't even his, but he had permission to show it to us, and that was awesome too. Wolfgang Moser came after that. David Stone came after that. Morgan and West came after that. They are the time-traveling magicians. They just did a show. They were the evening show, and we saw their lecture portion, their learning portion, the next day. And then after that, after Morgan and West, was Ben Hart. I stuck around for Ben Hart, and then I left and I went back to my hotel to get dinner and go to bed. Friday was also the day I went to the dealer's room. Dealer's room was packed. There was a couple times I tried to get in there earlier, and it was just wall-to-wall people. We were jam-packed in there so tightly. I turned around and left. Like, there was a couple of the people that I'd even asked, like, hey, you been to the dealer's room yet? And people were like, no, because you get claustrophobic when you're in there. It was so tight. And then, you know, guys like me were wearing big old bulky backpacks. You turn around, you bump into somebody. I had to like duck down and walk between people a couple of times. But there was a bunch of great people in there to see. Like I already mentioned, Amazed Kids was there. I spent a lot of time talking to Danny Orleans. He was so generous, so great. He showed me some stuff. Can't wait to do more reviews from him. Jeff Copeland was there from Copeland Coins. He showed me this really cool like little leather pouch that you can hold onto and touch, and it like secretes stuff onto your fingers so that it makes your palming and your coin magic tackier, I guess. Tackier. I don't do coin magic, but it was cool just to connect with him. Of course, the other brothers were there. Got to meet both of them. Nicholas Lawrence was there. Nicholas Lawrence actually saw me downstairs in the hotel. I was on the phone with my wife, and Nicholas Lawrence walks in, and he like saw me out of the corner of his eye, and he's like, hey. And I was like, I'm on the phone, man. Like, I kept seeing these people, like, and I was like, I want to connect with them. But I connected with Nicholas Lawrence upstairs, and it was great touching base with him. Nobody Knows was there, so got to see Chris James. He was showing off their famous watch, right? And DK Magician was there. DK Magician hooked me up with a deck of cards, so big thanks to Nobody Knows. Can't wait to see a lot of their new products coming out. Keep watching them. Watch Nobody Knows. Make sure you're following them on Instagram. United States Playing Card Company was there. Cardamundi was there. I bought a bunch of cards from them. Don Boyer was there. If you don't know who Don Boyer is, he's the deck tailor. He makes shortened cards. He makes Svengali cards. He makes stripper decks. He makes gaff cards. He makes tons of stuff, right? Go check out Don Boyer's stuff. He knows his stuff. Nobody I know knows more about playing cards and how playing cards are made and the history of playing cards more than Don Boyer. He's the guy I go to for questions, right? He's awesome. Then the second table I was probably at the most was Jeff Price for the Plain Sight. Jeff Price was selling a key trick called Monkey, which was like a linking rings effect. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's the trick I'm buying at MagiFest right there. And he said it's $100. And I was like, I don't care. I literally don't care. Okay, everything else I've seen. I've already seen all this stuff before on the internet, or I own half this stuff, right? Like this is what I want. And so I came back to get Jeff Price's Monkey, and then I wanted, he had this necklace pendant trick, which was awesome. And I said, I'm gonna get both of those. And Jeff said, you know what? You should pretty much just buy everything at my table instead. And I was like, okay, yeah, I love your stuff. Put it all in a bag. So I literally, that was my biggest purchase. I bought everything off Jeff Price's table. I bought everything off his table. So make sure you head to his website, check out some of his trailers, see what he's got coming out this year. It's gonna blow your mind. And of course, walking around giving out decks of cards, I got to meet a lot of you guys. Got to meet a lot of the followers and the people that comment and watch my channel, and that's awesome because I don't ever get to meet y'all ever. Like, I was hanging out with Pig Cake and Danny, and they were so much fun. They were totally nice, totally generous guys. It was so nice having another person to talk to and hang out with. We talked about YouTube a ton, them and I, and I looked forward to hanging out with them. So huge thanks to both of them. And I actually heard Danny was mad at me because I didn't give him a deck of cards. Danny, I got a box coming in the mail for you and Pig Cake. Watch for it. Got some stuff in there for you. All right, thanks. And then of course, outside there's the lobby scene. There's just guys hanging out at card tables, doing stuff. Couple people in cosplay, you know, because it's a con. So you got to come in cosplay, right? You got to dress like a magician. It's like, hey, if you looked at me and you were trying to guess my profession, I want you to guess magician because of the way I'm dressed. So yeah, I dressed like a 50-year-old dad that didn't know where he was and decided to wear a Boba Fett backpack to a MagicCon. What was I thinking? No idea. Yeah, so Saturday morning again, Starbucks. Didn't see Peter Nardi, but decided in my head, I'm going to go into the dealer's room, and before I get on the plane to go back to Texas, I'm going to shake Peter Nardi's hand. That was my goal Saturday. So Saturday, went back, saw the Morgan and West lecture. They were awesome. They taught us how to do this cards across trick that was crazy pants great. And then literally went straight to Peter Nardi's table in the dealer room. And I think I was there for 10 minutes straight, just standing there, watching him just rule the room, doing magic for just every person that walked up. His table was always crowded. People were always watching him. He was totally engaging, totally friendly, totally outgoing. You know, there's one time where his wife looked over at me and she says, "Can I help you? You've been standing here forever." I'm like, all I want to do is shake that man's hand, and that's it. That is it. So he looked up twice and saw me, and then I found my moment. And I just reached my hand over the crowd, and I was like, I just wanted to shake your hand because you're awesome. Shook his hand, went back out to the lobby, counted the decks that I had left. I had 5 decks left, so I had given away all my decks but 5. And there were some kids, some youngins, doing magic with each other at the tables. And I walked up and I literally put 5 decks down on the middle of the table. And I looked at them and I said, they're for whoever wants them. And I just turned and walked off. And the kids just went, "Ah!" and just attacked them, and they were gone. So it was awesome. Let me give you 2 things before I go. Number 1, you pay for a convention like this. It doesn't have to be this one or any convention. Do yourself a favor. Go on over to Penguin Magic and download Magic Act. Download a Magic Act, put it on your phone, and take it with you on the plane. Penguin Magic has lots of lectures, and you can add a speaker to your lecture or to your seminar experience that isn't on the schedule. That'll be just for you. So case in point, Drew Backenstoss has a magic lecture on Penguin Live. Downloaded that, bought that, put it on my phone, and then I watched that on the plane. Watched that when I was in the airport. And so from my MagiFest experience, right, Drew Backenstoss was there because he was on my phone. So I got to add all of that to my experience too. So that was fun. It was nice to kind of be thinking about magic on the plane on the way there, thinking about magic on the plane on the way back. So that was fun. And the thing I want to leave you with is Magic Stars. Magic Stars, this is a way for you to help a young kid or a young magician experience MagiFest next year. So let's just say you've already decided, you're not going to Columbus, Ohio, right? Because it's going to be in Columbus, Ohio again. You're not going to Columbus, Ohio, or you can't afford to go, but you know what? You can send $100 as a scholarship to Magic Stars to Vanishing Inc. so that a kid can go. So you can sponsor a young magician so they can have this experience. One of the coolest things walking around was meeting all the kids and watching them perform. Tons of them way better at card tricks, way better at magic than me. You don't have to have this card. You don't have to fill this card out. Just send Vanishing Inc. An email. Go to the MagiFest website and follow the scholarship links. And then that should take you to an email submission form. Fill that out and let Vanishing Inc. know that you would like to send $100 or whatever, send whatever money to help sponsor a kid so a kid can go in 2021. So if you walked up to me and said hi at MagiFest, that meant a lot to me. And it was so nice to hear your compliments, so nice to hear all the things that you guys had to say. It was so special to me, really, it was. All right, so that's my experience in a nutshell. Huge thanks to Andy Gladwin. Huge thanks to Joshua J. and everybody who helped run MagiFest. It was a great time. Thanks so much. I highly recommend it. If you have never done a Magic Con before, I'm sure you'd love it. It's just great to see all the people and see some of these celebs that are kind of like, in your head. And yeah, to meet other magicians, it was a blast. I had so much fun. If you went, or if you've gone in the past, let me know your experiences, or tell us below a Magic Con that you've gone to. Maybe you've gone to Blackpool. Man, that's like, right, yeah. Maybe you've gone to the one in Vegas. Let us know about your experience in the comment section. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks, bye.